Hi everyone, this is Cheryl McQueen, guest designer with Bello's Designs. Today we are going to do a quick tutorial making a reusable holiday tag. Here's an example of one I made previously. The great thing about this tag is that it can be used year after year because it has a replaceable to from card on the back. Let's get started by looking at the supplies we will be using today. You will need a tag, either purchase from the store or make one yourself. Today I'm going to use a tag I bought from the store. It is larger, that measures approximately 5 inches by 2.5 inches. For inks, we will use the Tim Holtz Distress inks using Salty Ocean, Chip Sapphire, and Wilted Violet. I will be using the archival ink from Ranger, the black, today for doing my stamped images. For the stamps today, we're going to use 2 of the Lavinia stamps. We'll be using the three Woodland Mice, which is LAV 402. I think we'll go ahead and use this mouse today. And then we're going to go ahead and use the Fairy Fir Tree 2, which is LAV 477. We'll be using a 1.5 inch circle mask. It's kind of hard to see there, but I put the gold Posca pen on my little mask so I can find it easily when I set it down. We'll also be using a landscape mask. Today I'm just going to go ahead and use one that I cut out, but I would like to highly recommend to you that you get the Lavinia landscape mask that you can purchase on DelBellosDesigns.com. You can also purchase the circle mask on Del Bello's as well. Other items that we will be using today include a gold Posca pen, a white Sakura Jelly Roll pen, a fine tip black pen. This is just a pen that I have that I use because it has a very, very tiny little drawing tip on it that I really, really like to use. We'll also be using our blending brush as well as a couple of our little daubers here. I will also be using the Distress Sprayer. I like the sprayer because it gives a nice snow effect. We'll be using white cardstock for our to from card that we'll be placing on the back. And we will be using photo corners to be placing the card on the back of our tag. You can use any colors that you like. This particular one happens to have gold, white, and silver, so you can choose from that. And I also like to use the clear tags. So let's get started. We're going to start out with our white tag. And first thing we're going to do is go ahead and place our landscape mask. So we'll just put this right down here, decide how we want our landscape to be for the snow. And I like to sometimes just go ahead and tape it down so that it doesn't wiggle too much. Just tape it right to the surface. And then that way it gives you a little bit more of a sturdy mask. If you'd like to tape your card down too so it doesn't move around, you can do that as well. So we're going to start out now with our Salty Ocean. And we're just going to take our blending brush and just blend lightly over the surface. I don't necessarily try to get it all even and all one color across the entire card because I'd like for it to look a little more natural, a little bit more like a sky. I also like to go back with my dauber as a second coat. This actually gives it a little bit darker spots, a little brighter color. I like the blending brush because it puts a very nice soft base down first. But then I like to use the dauber to kind of add some darker spots. Once again, to help it look more natural. Whoops. Just a few more spots there. Have some brighter pops. Alright, so as you can see, we have a variation in colors there to give it a little bit more of a sky effect. Now I'm going to go ahead and place my moon mask, and again, I sometimes like to just use a little bit of tape to hold it in place so it doesn't wiggle around when I'm doing my other work. So I'll just put a little bit of the painter's tape because it comes off very cleanly. Just put that down so that it doesn't wiggle very much. So now we're going to move on to our chipped sapphire. We're just going to add in just a little bit of the chipped sapphire randomly around just to give a little bit more different variation in color. We don't want it solid. Just a few little dabs here and there. All right, looking good, I think. Okay, so now on our moon, and in order to get it to show up with a little aura around the edge, we're going to go ahead and use the wilted violet. We're just going to take our dauber and just kind of whisk around the edges of the circle mask. There we go. That provides us with a little bit of the aura there that we like to get. It's my favorite way of making the moon. Alright, I think I'm also going to add just a little bit more of the chipped sapphire right down here closer to the snow line. It'll kind of distinguish it just a little bit, so we're just going to lightly put a little bit of that chipped sapphire down there. All right. Now we also would like to go ahead and do a second little snowbank. So we're going to kind of take this up, set our tape aside since we won't be needing that anymore. And let's see. I'll kind of maybe do something like this for our second snowbank. And then we're just going to take our chipped sapphire again and just lightly brush against the mask to give us just a little bit of that snowbank effect. Let's go ahead, let's see, maybe add in just one more little snowbank there. Just very lightly. I didn't even redaub that just because I wanted to get just a little bit not real dark ink on that for our snowbank. Let's see if we can kind of see the snowbank there. Okay, so now we're ready to go ahead and spray with our water mister to kind of get a snowy effect. I have a paper towel ready so that we can do our dabbing. So I'm just going to lightly mist. I don't even mind if I get some big spots on there. And then I'm going to take my paper towel and just dab it up. So that gives us an effect of snow or stars. Now, because we have kind of done a very inky thing on our surface here, we really don't want to get the back of the card too messy, so let's just go ahead and clean that up real quick so it keeps the back a little bit nicer and neater. Alright, so now we're ready to go ahead and start stamping our tree and our mouse. I like to go ahead and put a piece of paper down underneath for my stamping when I go over the edge of the cardstock or tag. That way it doesn't get my surface all messy. So let's start out with our tree. So we've got our fairy fir tree number 2 that we're going to use. We will get our black ink and really ink it up really well. Alright, I think we've got some good amount of ink on our stamp now. So we're now going to take that landscape mask that we used and lay it back on there, because what we'd like to do is have it look like our tree is kind of coming out of the snowbank. And I'm going to place this so that it comes across our moon. Hold it on there to make sure that the ink transfers really well. And to have a little light spot, but that's okay because we're going to go ahead and be later on adding on some snow effect in there. Alright, now let's go ahead and move on to our mouse. So we're going to take our little woodland mouse and do the same thing. Get him well inked up. Alright, and then I'm just going to place him looking up at the tree. Let's see, I think that's a good spot. And there's our little mouse. Alright. So, since we did have a little spot in there, I can always draw in some branches. Just using my little fine tip pen there, since I kind of had a spot that didn't quite ink up as much as I'd like. And that just allows us to do a little bit more if we like to on that. Also, with the reason I like this pen is I like to add a few little accents. So let's just kind of add a little bit of a grassy little area that's kind of popped up through the snow there. We'll go ahead and put one maybe here on underneath our little mouse. Draw some little wiggly lines and some grass sprigs. Maybe go ahead and put a little grass sprig over here. Maybe just one down here. All right. Now, since our mouse is standing there, we want him to have just a little bit of shadow under there so it doesn't look like he's standing in the air. So I'm just going to take a little bit of the dauber with the chipped sapphire and just kind of brush a little bit under there to ground him. You can even do that just a little bit over under your tree. Gives a little bit of a shadow under the tree as well. All right, now let's go ahead and put in the ornaments in our tree. Actually, I think what I'd like to do, I want to go ahead and add a few clouds in. I think the clouds sometimes just gives it a little bit more feel for the sky. So we will get our, I think we'll use Wilted Violet. And all we're going to do with that is just, this is a mask that I actually just tore out of a piece of paper to get the little jagged edges of what looks like clouds. So I'm just going to lightly brush a little bit of the Wilted Violet across my moon and sky, just to give that little effect of the clouds. Yeah. All right, let's see if you can see the effect there with the clouds floating across the moon. Okay, so now we can go ahead and we'll go ahead and remove this paper since we don't need that anymore. Let's go ahead and put in the gold ornaments and the stars in our sky. Just going to shake my Posca pen up here to get the ink and the paint all blended. And then just start putting little circles around our tree. And then let's go ahead and put our snow effect on. That's what we're going to use our Jelly Roll pen. You can actually do this first if you'd like to. You can do it before you put your ornaments on if you like, or you can do it after. So we're just going to go back in and draw a few little white lines to make it look like there's snow on our branches. All right. Got our little bit of snow effect there. Now let's go back with our Posca pen and put in our stars. I'm going to go ahead and put one on the top of my tree as well. So it looks like a star has landed on top of the tree. Get one more up here. Might be a little hard to see the gold on it, but let's see if we can get it at an angle where we're just drawing our little gold stars on top of the trees. So now we have finished with the front of our card, and we are ready to go ahead and put our card, like we did on this one, on the back. So what I've done is I've gone ahead and cut out this card already. I used a 1 5/8 by 3.5 inch. You can either print it out off of your computer, or if you have a to from stamp, then you can stamp that on there as well. So what we're going to do to start out with is I always like to do I guess it's like a setting piece, if you want to call it that. It's 1/8 inch larger than this card. That way when we put in our card and then want to remove it to replace it with a new one, we have just a little bit of wiggle room. So I'm going to turn this over, and then I'm going to take my setting card, and I'm going to put the photo corners. I'm going to go ahead and use the gold since that matches the stars and the ornaments that we have on the back. So place a corner on each one, each corner of our little setting card, and then place it in the center. And then just press down on the cards, on the corners. Pop out our card. And slide those corners in. Let's see if I can get that one to go in. There we go. And now you've got your card in there that you can fill somebody's name in, and then for the next gift, the next year, you can pull it out. Now, as you can see, I should have washed my hands first. I got a little bit of ink on the back. If you would like to, you can also make a little frame out of cardstock. Here's a Halloween one that I created. And you can put that on, cut that out, and put that on first. But otherwise, if you don't want to, you don't have to. And there we go. Now we have a tag that's reusable. So every year you can just pop out the old one and put in the new one. I hope you enjoyed today's video that I made for you, and hope that you have fun making some tags for the holidays. Be sure to check out the supply list, which contains links to the products that you can purchase on bellosdesigns.com. Please have a great day, and I look forward to seeing you next time.